many of you might have been exposed to arrays in your class as well as in your plus 2 level courses, in which some of you might have computer science as your background. Nonetheless, I'm very sure that my experience with the plus 2 course as well as the syllabus and the content. So please be attentive to this class, because there are some things which you need to unlearn, as well as some things which you have to learn. Um, mean, I mean, let's go to the first slide. And all of us know what an array is. Of course, we have, let us say, a list of numbers to be manipulated. And maybe there are 5 numbers, there are 6 numbers, maybe there are 500 numbers. And if I want to work with it, then there are a few options. I may have 5 variables, 500 variables, and can work with it. But the problem with that would be the code will not be generic. The code that I will write for 5 variables will not be useful if I want to have 500 integers. So if the list varies in capacity, then naturally, how many variables should I create? I do not know. How to manipulate them? I do not know, because my manipulation will dependent on the variable names. So why not have one variable name, and by that one variable name and an index, we can go to, or we can actually identify several variables. So all of us used matrix in our plus 2 courses. I think all of you have that. So we know that there is a nice, by that I mean the first variable in a list. Maybe a2 will be the second variable in a list. Now therefore, we need to know how to start. Where is the first variable and where is the last variable in a particular context? Now, different programming languages have different flavors, and in the evolution of programming languages, typically people had liberties. For example, older languages like Pascal, Algol allowed the programmer to define what would be the lower index, I mean the starting index, and what could be the maximum ending index. Nowadays, we are all bent on C and programming languages that are derived from C. Everybody wants to make quick programmers, and therefore, even if I define a new programming language today, then I always keep remembering what is the most popular language today, so that the people who know the existing popular language can easily adapt to my newly invented language. Therefore, nowadays, all the languages which are generated, which are created, they all have uh, agreed on a particular starting index, which is 0 nowadays. So we don't say what is the first variable. Nowadays we say what is the 0th variable. That is the starting of the list. So, and the second thing about array is I cannot say that my list will contain an integer or a character, or let us say, or a struct. I do not know whether you know about struct or not. So what I mean to say is an array cannot contain, I mean, there is an array of 5 elements. First, second element is a character. Third element is a different thing. Those things cannot be done. So we have a homogeneous group of data types in an array. I think all of you are with me. All of you can hear me. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. So it is a preliminary slide. So we'll have lots of examples on that. But also know that array is not a built-in array is a built-in data type, but is not a simple data type. Because of a simple thing, it has in itself at least 2 things. One is what data type it contains. Like as I said, if it is an array of integer, then what data type it contains? Integers. And then the index value. The index value is an integer. So it is not a simple data type. It is a complex or a derived data type. In our examples today, we'll talk with arrays of integers and arrays of characters, to be precise. And if time permits, we'll go to double dimensional array today. Or if time does not permit today, then we'll go to the 2-dimensional arrays in the next class. So let us go to a very simple type declaration, which I think you very easily will be able to grasp, even if you do not know. Look at the examples first. Best way to learn things is to look at the example, look at the concrete instances, and from there try to find out an opinion. Like first one is int ARR1 5. Now, what does that mean? That means ARR1 is the name of the array. It is not the array. It is never the array. It is the name of the array. Then what is the array about? The array contains 5 elements. Why? You see within square brackets 5 is written. And what are those elements? They are integer elements, because that's how I declared it. It is int. So ARR1 is not an int. ARR1 is an array, a derived data type. ARR1 stores elements whose type is integer. Now, therefore, don't confuse the array with ARR1. Never ever confuse the array with ARR1. ARR1 is the name of the array. What is the type of ARR1? Array of integer data type. What is it? Array of integer data type. ARR1's type is never integer. What is the type of ARR1 0 within square bracket? ARR1 square bracket 0 is of type integer. ARR1 square bracket 1 is of type integer. But what is the type of ARR1? ARR1's type is just array of 5 integers. It's nothing else, nothing small, nothing large. It's an array of at most 5 integers. It cannot contain more, it cannot contain less. So ARR1 alone gives me so much of information. And why I am saying that it is not an integer? Had it been an integer, then I could simply write int ARR1 5 and int ARR2 5. I could simply add ARR1 plus ARR2. Can I do that? No, we cannot do that. ARR1 is not an integer, so that it can be added with ARR2. ARR1 is simply an array. So elements can be added, but the arrays cannot be added. Right? So for example, this addition operation is not valid for arrays. So a type, if it had been of type integer, then this addition would have been possible. It is never an integer, it is an array of integer, not just array of integer. It's an array of 5 integers. Okay, so let us delve a little deeper, and we can, so this is what it is. You see, I think this there is a small mismatch. The array should be ARR1 5. Also look at the indices. Indices starts with 0, ends with 4. So if I declare an array of 5, size 5, then minimum index is 0 and maximum index is size minus 1. Size minus 1, right? But do you think that if I define or declare an array of 50 elements, is it necessary that I need to always work with 50 integers list? No. My intention of declaring an array of 50 integers is that never ever this list will be of size more than 50. But at a given point of time, how many elements are there? We need to always remember it in another integer variable. We will call it n. So whenever you use arrays, in anything you use arrays, you must also remember to say, along with the array name, what is the current length of the array which is in use. Is this point understood by you? What I mean to say?
Repeat once.
I repeat once.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes. Let us say I have an array defined as int ARR1 with double bracket 5. What I did? How many integers array I have defined? 5. Right? But does that mean that always I will be using 5 integers array? No. In my program, I am saying that this array maximum size would be 5 integers. But it can have 0 integers, 1 integer, 2 integers. My list could be variable. My list could be 1 at a given point of time. It could be 2 in another point of time. So whenever I am using an array, we need to supply 2 variables. One is the name of the array and the other one is the length of the array at a given point of time. Is that clear?
Okay, sir.
We'll have examples. I think we'll be seeing that. Then again, I'll ask you the same question. I'll keep on repeating this question. Okay, so how to initialize it? This is very simple. How to initialize it? I can initialize it when I'm defining it, like the first one. So ARR1 can have 5 elements, which is initialized as 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Meaning ARR1 0 is 2, ARR1 1 is 4, ARR1 2 is 6, ARR1 3 is 8, and ARR1 4 is 10. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Look at the second one. Here I did not write 5. No, I did not write that number 5. But I've given the size in the declaration, in the initialization, isn't it? I've said that there are five integers in the list. So automatically the compiler assumes that the maximum size of the array ARR1 is 5. Right? But if I do not have this part, if I do not have this part, I mean, let us say I just write this much. Can you see this shading?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if I do not have this part, just I write int ARR1 double bracket semicolon, that's an error. Because if in this case, compiler does not know what is the size of the array.
Must
But
define
if
the
I write, but if I write this much, then it is fine, because the compiler can understand that we have 5 elements in that array. Also note that I may define it like this. So what are the initial values? Garbage, not 0, not 1. What are the first values? ARR1 0. What is it? Garbage. ARR1 1. What is it? Garbage. No default value. So if I do this like this, then the next thing that I need to do is I have to write this particular for loop. You see, this is a simple for loop where I keeps on changing, right? In each iteration, I keeps on changing till it becomes 4. The moment it becomes 5, I come out of the for loop. This much you know?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So look at it. When I is 0, ARR1 0 will be 0 into 2 plus 2. That is 2. Next time when I come back, i's value will be 1. So ARR1 1 will be 1 into 2 plus 2, which is 2 plus 2, 4. Then again I'll come back, I equal to 2, ARR1 2 will become 4. But when I becomes 5, then I less than 5, this condition becomes false. And therefore I come out of the for loop when I becomes exactly 5. This is what you have learned in your for loop class. Right? Every time when I enter into the for loop, I check this condition that I've highlighted. I check with the current value of I whether I is less than 5 or not. If it is less than 5, then I go inside the for loop. If it is not less than 5, then I come out of the for loop. Right? This much you know. And this will be used heavily in programs or in problem solving using arrays. Is that okay? Is this much okay?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So let me go to the next slide now. I think this will be even bigger and better. No?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is it flickering to you?
Yes, sir.
It's flickering. So it's better to be in this mode, right? You can see this much, no?
No, sir, it wasn't flickering.
Oh, it was actually flickering at my end. Anyway, it was not flickering. It's fine. We do.
Yes, sir.
Okay, no problem.
Yes, sir. Now it's okay, sir. Yeah.
Do you have any rudimentary idea about pointers as on today? Any rudimentary
Yes, sir.
idea?
Not much,
Yes
sir.
or no? No, just
Sir,
rudimentary.
pointer shows the
Points
sir,
towards the
pointer
memory
shows the
location.
address of the array, sir.
Address.
will be needed. Pointer stores the address of an integer.
Yes, sir.
What does this mean? Absolutely, that will be
Not necessarily integers, but any variables.
No. This declaration.
It stores the
No. Very
address of
nice.
that.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. You are absolutely right. But this line means that this PTR variable can store only the address of an integer. Right? This particular line says that, isn't it? And what
Yes, sir.
does ARR? Yeah, what does ARR1 store? What did I repeatedly say? ARR1 is a separate variable. Did I say that? ARR1 is a separate variable than the array itself. What I mean by that is just a minute. So you see, when I write int ARR1 double bracket 5, then this gets created. This space gets created. Do you understand that? But this is not ARR1. ARR1 is a separate variable. And what does it contain then? It contains the beginning address of this particular integer.
So then what will you give to the function, header when you send any destination?
We'll come to the function header. I mean, next slide will be function header. Don't worry. Just this much everybody should understand, that you see that when I say int, this line is not here and I cannot write, but please follow me. Int ARR1 double bracket 5. Just I write this line. Immediately this space will be when the compiler will compile, this space will be reserved. This 5 into 4, 20 bytes of space will be reserved. Okay. As well as a variable called ARR1 will be created. As I repeatedly keep on saying, the name of the array is not the array. Array is different and the name of the array is different. Each element in this space, the type of each one of them is an integer. But what is the type of ARR1? The type is array of integer. Now what is the value of that particular variable? The value of that particular variable is the beginning address of this chunk of 20 bytes. The beginning address of this first integer, 0th integer, is its value. Understood?
Yeah.
So in a sense, when you define, in a sense, let us go back. In a sense, when you write int ARR1 within bracket 10 or within bracket 5, then ARR1 also contains an address, and therefore it can be easily said to be a pointer. Understood? The name of the array is always something like a pointer, right? And therefore, what I can do is see ARR10. You see this example here. What is ARR4? Type-wise, ARR4 contains type-wise, it's an array of 10 integers. Value-wise, what does it contain? The address of the beginning integer in this bunch of 10 integers, right? That is the address of the 0th integer in this bunch of 10 integers. Is that correct? So
that means the name of the array stores the address of first element of the array.
First element. I mean, let us start practicing 0th element, right? First element anymore. We'll say 0th element. Because it is 0th element, no, it is not first element. I mean, first element is logical, but 0th element. If you are studying language like C, the first element is nothing but the 0th element, right?
Okay.
So this ARR4 contains the address of the 0th element. Is that right?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
And therefore, this assignment is perfectly valid. PTR can. So when you said PTR contains the address of one integer, I did not object, but I did not agree either. We just said PTR contains the address of one integer. It may so happen that that integer will be followed by a bunch of many other integers. So in general, therefore, this PTR is an address of a number of integers which are contiguous in space, in memory location. Right? Right?
Yes, sir.
PTR, so therefore, we can easily. Yeah, I could not hear you. Can you come back?
Sir, can you please explain once again?
What does ARR4 contain? Tell me that. What does ARR4 contain? What is its value? ARR4 is a separate variable. What is its value?
So its value is
Value will be given by the user.
Its value is the.
so its value
So its value will be given by the user, sir. As of now, there
No,
will
no,
be
no, no,
a
no, no.
garbage value.
Absolutely wrong. You are giving the values of ARR1, ARR2, ARR0, ARR3, ARR4, etc. You are not giving the value of ARR, ARR4. No. ARR4's value you never give.
so it contains the address of the
Just a minute. Many of you are
ARR1
confused.
points the base address of the array, right? Where
No, nothing
ARR1
like
points
points.
the base address.
Nothing like points. It contains. It's a variable. It has that value.
Okay.
Points is a depiction. Is a way to express this fact that it contains the value of that address. Since the address is some value which you do not know, it depends on runtime. Whether the value is 100, whether the value is 1000, whether the value is 10,000, this address value depends on your runtime. So we cannot write that value. Instead, when we write diagrams, when I draw diagrams, we write an arrow from there. But that arrow basically means that the content of that variable is nothing but the address. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
So when I draw a diagram, and in that diagram I say that one variable points to another, then you understand that the value of the first variable is the address of the second variable. Right? If I say P points to Q, nothing but P's value is the address of Q. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
So therefore, ARR4 contains an address of an integer, and PTR can also store that address. So this assignment is perfect. Therefore, right? PTR can store an address of an integer. ARR4 also contains that, isn't it? So therefore, we can easily. Pardon me?
Sir, what will happen? We have written start PTR is equal to array4.
Start PTR equal to array4 has no meaning. Of course, it will not be an error. But start PTR equal to ARR4 means whatever PTR points to. For example, PTR is not pointing to anything now. So dereferencing PTR at this point of time has no meaning. If you assume that PTR equal to something, then if I write PTR equal to ampersand of A, an integer, then I write star PTR equal to ARR4, then A will contain the value of ARR4, meaning the address of ARR4. At this what is at this value which is contained in ARR4 will also go to A. That's what it will mean. Right? Right now this just means that the pointer is a variable. Pointer is also a variable. That variable's value is the same value as that of ARR4. So if ARR4 is pointing to something, this PTR will also point to that particular thing. That's what it means. Get my point?
Yes, sir. Got it.
We'll have pictures as well for this. Okay, let us go here. Let us go here. By this we will have a number of explanations. We'll stop in there. Look at this slide. This slide will be useful in the next diagram. You see there. First look at the main function. Main. Can you see the main? Int main.
Yes, sir. Yes,
It is a very simple thing. Card star ARR. So what does ARR? What can ARR be? It is a variable which may contain the value of a character, right? And then what is this? What does this line means? What does this mean? I call test, isn't it? So let us go to test. What does test contain? It creates an array whose value, which is populated by tiger. ARR50 is T, ARR51 is I, ARR52 is G, ARR5 3 is E, and ARR54 is R, right? Now question is, when I come back this error will be pointing to the array which contains these characters TIGER or not. That is the question. The answer is no, it will not. Now let us come here. A little knowledge. First of all, let me tell you, whenever your program runs, your program needs some space to run, and that space is categorized in terms of certain compartments, logical compartments. For the time being, let us concentrate on one particular compartment, which is local variable. Local variable. Now coming back here. In main, what are the local variables that I have? I have only one local variable. What is it? ARR. Can you understand that? It has only one local variable. No, in main I have only one local variable, which is ARR. Correct? Correct.
Yes, sir.
In test, how many local variables do I have? How many local variables do I have? I have one local variable. The name is ARR5. Also, I have a space of 5 characters in which TIGER is populated.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now when will be the space for test be created and when the space for test will be destroyed? Anybody knows? A
Sir, first,
space for a continue.
Sir, first the function, it will create the space, and within that function the variable ARR will be stored, and once the function is called, that tiger is stored, then when it will return, then the space will be dispersed, it will be removed. Then
Beautifully said. Let me formalize a little. Almost 90% correctly said. When the function will be called, the space for test will be created. So there is a small difference between reserved and created. Reservation is done during compilation time, but that is just paper reservation. For example, I reserve my space in a train. Nothing in the train is being used by me, but I just keep a paper reservation. Now, when I actually go and occupy that seat on a particular day, then I reserve. Then I actually reserve it, and then I actually use it. I get it, right. So compiler reserves, but actually the space will be allocated when the program runs. So when the function is called, the space for this particular function will be allocated. Correct. And whenever the function returns, the space for the function will be deallocated.
release.
Right? Absolutely. Released. Logically released. Now, whether it is immediately reused for others or not, that is a different question. Logically, it is released, and you should not rely on that space anymore. Now come here. It's a small program, so you should be able to remember. In the main, I had only ARR, right? Nothing else. Don't look at the arrows now. Just the ARR I had. Nothing else. It was a very simple program. Only ARR I had. In the test, now, I mean, this is called a stack. Why? This space grows and shrinks like a stack. So first, your operating system called main. Therefore, this space is created. This space. Now then main calls test, and this space is created on top of, I mean, I could not show it. It is created on top of the space for main. Now what are stored in the area of test? ARR5 and the 5 characters 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 TIGER. And what does ARR5 contain? The beginning address of that particular space, meaning the address of the 0th character. That is why I had an arrow. When I have an arrow, it basically means it contains an address. Address of what? Address of the 0th element in that particular chunk. Understood?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Now you see, I did not do anything with that tiger. I just returned.
sir,
I
one
returned.
question, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, it will contain the address of T. So the 0th
Of T.
position will be occupied by T, and the memory
Absolutely.
will be Sir, and the memory will be sequentially arranged. So when it will point
Right.
to T, it can access the whole array, right?
Or TIGER.
Yes, sir.
No, it cannot access the whole array. ARR5 can only access T. Now, if you say ARR5 plus 1, then it can access I. For example, ARR5
Through T,
double
it can access the array.
not through T. No. Through ARR5. ARR5 plus 0 is the address of T, correct?
Yes, sir.
ARR5 plus 1 is the address of
I.
the address of I. ARR5 plus 2 is the address of G, and so on. So you are always accessing, and when I'm saying plus, you use square bracket to denote this plus. Got my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And also understand that ARR5 1 is the address. I mean, ARR5 plus 1 is an address. I need the content of that address. So that is the difference between ARR5 double bracket 1 and ARR5 plus 1.
Okay.
ARR5 plus 1 is the address, but ARR5 double bracket 1 is the content of the address.
Okay.
Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I can access the entire space of this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 through ARR5 and an index variable which is an integer, and the operator which is double bracket. Double bracket is something like an operator. It gives it does some operation, like it does an addition, then goes to that space, finds out the value, and that value is given back to you. It's an operator. It has a function, and the function is such that I just explained. Did you understand it?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, so I mean, when I called it till it returns, this was what it happened. TIGR is populated. When I say return, so I'm returning ARR5. The value of ARR5 will be returned. To whom it will be returned? Look at it. It will be returned to mains ARR. Correct? Correct? So
Yes,
now
sir.
ARR will contain the address of T, isn't it? This ARR will contain the address of T now,
Address of
because
T. Yes.
ARR5's value is copied to ARR. Yeah, so now you can say good. Then I can access TIGER. Now comes your you already told that once test function returns, the space for test vanishes in thin air. Right?
Relieves the memory.
This array5 is no longer there. So ARR contains that address, which looks like a valid address, but that space is no longer available with you. With you means with the programmer, with the program environment, right? So therefore, this is not going to work. Understood me?
Yes, sir.
Also, through this example, I also told you a lot about pointers, isn't it? Pointers, arrays and pointers, lots of things. I through these examples I illustrated, didn't I?
Give the pointers.
Yeah. So you see, so this is what it is. Can I go to the next slide? I mean, was it interesting? Was this thing interesting?
Yes, sir.
So how to do that now? So next, let us look at this function. Read this function and tell me what is the difference between this function and the previous function. Where is the space created? In test or in main?
Sir, in test.
So in test.
Now space is not created in test. Space is created in main. You see?
Sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
space is created.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is the space is created. The space for the array is created in main, isn't it? And then I'm calling test and passing the address of ARR, right?
Yes,
To
sir.
ARR5.
Main I'm calling test and it passes to ARR and it stores in main.
Yeah. So and then I change that array, right? In my test function, I'm changing that array. Am I not? I am changing. The first element was T. I'm changing it to X. From tiger to zyger. Am I not changing it? I'm changing, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Beautiful. Yeah. Now look at the same thing. Look at the difference. In the main, there is one variable called ARR. So the space for this is the space for the ARR, and this is the space for the array, right? Right. This is the space for the array.
Yes, sir.
And this arrow, what does it signify? This signifies that error contains the address of zero.
It's storing the zeroth element. You have address
Yeah,
of the zeroth
but
element.
this arrow and these arrows do not have the same meaning. These two arrows are for parameter passing. And you like it or not, your teacher has said something or not. In C, only one parameter type mechanism is there, which is called call by value. Nothing else is there. Call by value. The value of the parameter goes to the other, nothing else. So these are parameter passing, but this parameter is passed to error 5, this parameter is passed back to ARR. So we have seen this much and this much. So I need to go back. No, sorry. Yeah, this was that. Yeah. So you also see that I am passing this parameter ARR. So what I am passing? The ARR means what is the value of ARR? The beginning address of this particular array, right? So and who will take that value? ARR 5.
ARR 5. Yes.
Yeah. So the moment the parameter is passed, what does ARR 5 contain? ARR 5 contains the address of the beginning of this 0th element. I mean the address of this 0th element, right?
Yeah.
Now why it was wrong in the previous case and not wrong in this case? Because whenever this when you create this space is definitely alive. It is in use. But right. So when I say ARR 5 0, I come here. Not through ARR, but through ARR 5. Very easily I can come here. Because ARR 5 plus 0 gives me this address, and ARR 5 within square bracket 0 gives me. I mean, I get the value. I get the address, and I can change the particular value. Right. Right. So when I say ARR 5 0 is equal to x, what does it mean? The variable which is at ARR 5 0, that variable's value will change to x, right? Any confusion? Anyone?
No, sir.
Good. So I can change it. No, I can change it, and then when I return, I'm returning ARR 5 to ARR. So meaning ARR 5's address is again copied back to ARR. So actually the same address went there. This address came back here. So actually ARR did not change. Right? And I can get the effect of
the previous step 1 second. So you can you explain the previous step 1 second?
Which step?
Sir, returning what
Actually, when you return, look at the return. When you return, there are two variables. So one is you are returning ARR 5.
Yeah.
And where are you returning this variable? To ARR.
ARR, yes, sir.
So ARR 5's value. What is ARR 5's value? The beginning of the chunk, right?
Yeah.
And that will come to ARR. So basically, ARR. You may also say that this step is redundant because ARR already contained it. No.
Yeah.
So you may say that this return value is not meaningful. So you can say that the return value of test could be just void. Even then, this program will run the same manner, isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah. So
Yes, sir.
yeah. But I just wanted you to tell something about return value parameter passing. So I am saying that look at what this is a function. What it is returning? ARR 5. And where it is returning? To ARR. So when it will return, the value of ARR 5 will come back to ARR. What is this value? Address. Address of what? Address of beginning of T. Address of T. So what is ARR now after this return value parameter passing? The address of t again. Correct. Correct?
So your audio.
Can I? Yeah. What happened? Audio is that? Can you hear me? I can hear you very. I can hear you very nicely.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So understood this much?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know malloc for that matter? Do you know malloc today?
No, sir.
Predefined
No, sir.
Oh, no. You do not know malloc. Okay. So in that
No.
case, we'll talk
Will you
about the
explain it?
next slide. Next slide we'll talk about in the next class. I hope that by that time we'll learn about malloc. If you do not, I'll talk about malloc. Okay.
Okay, sir.
But let us go to some. Yeah. Let us go to some small thing.
So
Simple
what
thing.
is the spelling of malloc?
MALLOC.
It's a predefined
This one.
function.
Let me define this one. This one. This one. This one. This one.
Okay.
This one. This one. Don't worry. I mean, the next few slides were about the same kinds of things which we can cover next class as well. Let us go to some array functions now. I wanted you to get into the parameter parsing. I wanted you to learn that the local variables are stored in a stack. The stack is space in the stack is allocated when a function is called. The space in the stack is deallocated when the function returns. All those things, and then the pointers, value passing, things like that. So I have done that. So these 4 slides I can take them in my next class.
Okay, sir.
Let
Sure.
us. Yeah. No, next is pretty easy. Yeah, next is pretty easy. Do you know how to read an array of a linear array? It's easy. What is that? It's in a for loop, isn't it? Always it has to be a for loop, because
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
as you said, you can when I say read an array, you never read into the array name. You are reading into the array elements.
Hmm.
ARR and ARRI are two different things. ARR can never be modified by you. ARR is not.
ARR
Array name can never be modified by the programmer.
Yes,
It
sir.
is modified by the system during space reservation and during parameter initialization. You cannot do it. So what you can do is you can read or write the elements in the array, and the elements in the array are never ARR. They are array name, square bracket, index variable. Correct? So if I want to read the array, I need to read the array element by element. If there are n number of elements, I need to read them one after one. What can help me? For loop. In a for loop, I will say I start with I equal to 0. I go up to size -1, and in each iteration I scan. In scan, you always know in scanf, I need to give the address. So what is the address of ARRI? I can write ARR plus I, and absolutely valid. Or I can write ARRI address of that ampersand, address of that parameter. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but here you cannot write ARR in printf. You cannot write ARR plus I, because ARR plus I is nothing but an address, and what you need to print is the value stored in that address. So if you want to write ARR plus I, then you have to use a star operator, a dereferencing operator on that. If you want to do that, you have to write star within bracket ARR plus I. Otherwise, you have to write just ARR double bracket I square bracket I. Correct? Correct? So this is how you have to read an array and print an array. Now, if I want to find out minimum and maximum values in an array, this is the array, let us say, and I have to begin with, I say my minimum is the first element's value, which is 2. Now, of course, then I go and check whether next element is less than 2 or not. It is less than, so therefore the minimum remains at 2. The next iteration, I see my minimum was 2, and now this particular value is 1. Then I have to update my minimum as 1. I think you know this program. Many of you can understand this program. If somebody cannot, please raise your voice. Don't raise your hand here. I cannot see. Raise your voice. So now my minimum is 1, and I go to the next element 6. It remains at 1 because 1 is less than 6. And then I go to 8. I remain at 1 because 1 is less than 8. So ultimately, when I finish seeing the array, then I find out that my minimum ultimately is 1. Right? Minimum is 1. So it's not max. It's minimum is 1.
Minimum, yes.
Yeah. And now, look at this find minimum function. What does it contain? An array. How is it an array? Because it contains the address of the first element of the array. That's all. I'm referring to this particular thing. This one. This error contains. I mean, what it will contain? It will contain only the address of the first element.
Address of the first element. Yes.
That's all. Because and therefore it can be just int star. Then I will add my index and go to the next element. Add the index and go to the next element. Right? Do you remember that I said the array may be of 50 integers large, but the array right now being used may be just 10 integers possible. I declared my array as 50 integers large. But in my program, I find out my teacher has come and asked me to give a demo. So I am giving him a demo with only 10 integers. So I just say that what is the maximum number of integers you want to store? I give 10, and then the program stores only 10 integers because giving 50 integers is a very large time-consuming task. So now what is the length of this array? Capacity of the array remains 50, but what is the length of the array? 10.
10.
Whenever you are using an array in a function in a program, you need to remember two things. What is the array name and what is the current length?
Sir, will
Because
it be 10 or
size
9?
of the, pardon me?
Sir, will it be 10 or 9, the length?
Length is 10,
Length will
but,
be 10.
but index will be from 0 to 9.
Yes.
Okay.
Length is 10, but index will be from 0 to 9.
So, but
Correct?
isn't the last index number generally considered to be the length in other programming languages?
No, not at all. For example, a string. No, never. Length means the length, the number of elements you are considering now.
Okay.
For example, tiger. How many characters are there? What is the length of that string? 5.
5.
Yeah, but what is the last index? 4.
4.
Okay.
Yeah. So length always refers to the length of the list that you are using now.
Okay.
And the index wise, the last index will be 1 less than the length. Of course, there is. If you write a program violating these norms, no problem about it. You have to be consistent. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
Got my point. So it is the programmer's choice. But if you ask me, I will say this because this is a universally accepted convention. But there is no programming language. There is a rule like that. There is a syntax rule like that.
Oh.
There is a syntax rule like that. It is a logical convention.
Yes, sir. Understood.
Got my point? So there is a syntax error here. Of course, you can simply say that the last index is the length to me, and I always say the length as last index plus 1. That's perfect. But whatever you are doing, you have to do it consistently in your code. Got my point?
Yes, sir.
But of course, the length is last index plus 1 in case of programming languages like C. And if a programming language gives you the liberty of saying what is the lower index and what is the upper index, it is always upper index minus lower index plus 1. Upper index plus minus lower index plus 1. It is always like that. right?
Okay, sir.
Now I in the at the very beginning I told you that an array is always overestimated. The size of the array, capacity of the array is always overestimated. If I think that maximum size required by this array in my program is 1000, I'll keep it as 1000. But maybe in many of the runs, actually, now the declared maximum value cannot help me there. So with any program in array, I always have to keep two things: the array name and the current length of the array. I delete one, the length decrements by one. I insert one, the length is increased by one. I have to keep my length variable consistent as in sync in the entire run of the program, so that at any given point of time there is a variable which stands for the length of the array at that point of time, because the size of the array is not that length. The size of the array is an overestimation from the programmer's point of view when the program was written. But when the program runs, I'm writing a program about, for example, let's say about keeping all the students in your batch. So the maximum students may be 120. I keep the array as 120. But in a particular batch it could be 80. Another batch it could be 105. In another batch it could be 110. Right? Maybe in this batch it is 105. Next session it becomes 107 because two more joined in lateral entry, two more joined by backlog, right? But my declared size is the maximum. It cannot be more than that. So declared size is always an overestimation. It is never the correct size. So any program that you write with arrays, you have to have two things. One is the array name, the other one is the length of the array. Right? It is very important to understand this. Then this program is pretty simple. I go from 1 because my minimum, I initialize this minimum with the 0th element. And then when I traverse, I showed you, when I am traversing, if our minimum is more than the current element in the array, then what I do, I update my minimum. I update my minimum, isn't it? Right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I think now it is 4:57, and next, so I have to stop here. Did you enjoy this class? The feedback. I will give my. Not I will. I have
Yes,
given my
sir.
email. Address.
Yes,
I have given my email address to Shumanto Mukherjee.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can use that email address. In fact, I will be giving him another email address in which you can communicate to me. But in the subject, you must say Techno University or college, whatever it is, you have to write so that I can easily identify the group. Right? That's my point.
Yes, sir.
You're
Yes, sir.
welcome to send me mails about the portion that I taught, even
Sir, could you
otherwise.
pardon, sir? What did you just say? Like, I couldn't understand. Could you pardon, please?
I said that Shumanto Mukherjee will give you the address, my mailing address, where you can mail and ask me for clarifications on topics which I covered, or on topics which you need some clarifications. Okay,
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
you can send me mails so that I can give you a reply on the mail in the mail. Okay.
So when will you be taking our next class?
Monday 4 p.m.
Huh?
Next Monday 4 p.m.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Was it enjoyable? Did you like it?
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you very much. But it is 4:59. It is better to stop it instead of getting it disconnected all on a sudden. Right? This is 4:59. So let me, therefore, let me exit this meeting. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir.